Now I want to discuss what has been proven that power holders use. And you're going to see the similarities of what we just discussed about Sun Tzu's Art of War and how they used it against us during this whole delegation process. The power holders maintain their power and status by hiding the moral violations of social conditions and by their policies through the following strategies. Their first line of defense is through a strategy called bureaucratic management to prevent the issue from ever becoming a public issue. This is achieved by 1. Internalized obedience. Party line pullers.
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially loved when Newt Gingrich is like, well, I'm a party guy. I'm a party loyalist, is what he said. Yeah, party loyalist. I'm a party loyalist. And I think it's important. Even people I'll meet today that are diehard Republicans who may not necessarily agree with Romney, but they're going to vote for him because it's all about the party.
Yeah. They keep the problem out of the public's view of the world and therefore out of the people's consciousness. The Fox News never reported the script changes or the rules changes that were scripted.
Amongst many other things they don't report.
Yeah, and so therefore no Republican, especially who watch Fox News, or have any idea that it ever happened. And if they hear about it, they go, oh, that's just a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, you're just making that up.
You 9/11 truther.
Oh, man. You went there. No, Fox News, here's the part that I love about Fox News, and you can...
What? They're fair and balanced.
Yeah, they're fair and balanced for themselves. Even in their own website, they have a disclaimer, basically stating that they don't even have to tell the truth.
As a matter of fact, I'll put that up. Number 2, keeping issues out of the public spotlight and off the society's agenda. Keeping the issues off of keeping the issues of society's political agenda of hotly contested issues. Some of the means used by the power holders to achieve this strategy are the following. Maintain control of information available to the public through the media. Deny that the problem exists. Example, there's no arms that have been sent to Iran.
Never.
Never.
Never. No arms.
Create societorial myths, which define the problem for the public exactly the opposite of reality, such as calling the Contras freedom fighters, or saying that the Marcos Duvalier governments were part of the free world. Create the threat of demons, such as communism and terrorism, to instill fear in the general population so that they will unquestioningly support whatever policies the power holders take. Patriot Act, NDAA, all the other laws that were passed immediately after 9/11.
Executive orders.
Executive orders, especially the ones about food. Now, after a policy becomes a public issue, the power holders are forced to switch to what is called crisis management, a strategy by doing the following. They vindicate unjust policies through justification myths, which explain that their policies are needed to overcome a bigger evil. An example, we need to support President Marcos, a minor dictator, to prevent worse evils of communism being taken over in the Philippines. Re-emphasize old demons or create new ones, like underwear bombers. Create trigger events that justify a new policy and to get public consent, such as when the American government got the support of the American people for escalating the Vietnam War by proclaiming that American ships were attacked in the Gulf of Tonkin. I mean, that's basically common knowledge nowadays. One of those things that if you would have came out back then in the 60s and said, that didn't really happen, you're a conspiracy theorist or you're a communist sympathizer, kind of like how they use terrorist sympathizer nowadays. Overcome public opposition by first ignoring them, discrediting them, destabilizing them, and, if necessary, repressing the movement.
Does this sound familiar?
Anyone?
Anyone.
Anyone?
They did this specific thing, and they're still doing it to us right now. They are trying. They destabilized us. They don't realize people like you and people like us and Adam Kokesh and others are slowly forming back together for the next push.
And also what they don't realize is that no matter who you disagree with, Ron Paul, Gary Johnson, what you're going to vote for, Romney's going to lose because we're not voting for Obama and we're not voting for Romney. That means that they got to deal with their measly 37% Republican base while Obama has his 47% Democratic base. Who's going to win this election?
And then they're going to turn around and blame you.
Oh, yeah. It's our fault.
It's our fault. It's our fault that they cheated, coerced, lied, corrupted. What any other adjectives to go along with that one?
Nope. One of my personal favorites that they use is appearing to be involved in a resolution process through promises, new rhetoric, appointing studies and commissions, and negotiations as in the Geneva nuclear arms reduction meetings. So they make minor changes through reforms and compromises and co-opting of opponents and co-opting of the opposition. That one's a gimme. I mean, if I have to come up with an example of how they do that, you're probably not a part of the movement.
Or not paying close enough attention.
Now, the chief means by which power holders maintain unjust policies and keep them hidden from the public is by having a two-track system of official versus operative. Their doctrines and policies. These are Noam Chomsky's terms. Official policies are fictitious policies which are given to the general public. They are explained in high-sounding morals and terms such as democracy and freedom, or what's the mayor's name in New York during 9/11? What was that guy's name?
Oh, Giuliani.
Giuliani. How many times did he say 9/11 during the debates? 9/11? 9/11? 9/11.
September 11th, September 11th, September 11th, September 11th, September 11th, September 11th.
9/11, 9/11.
Operative policies, on the other hand, are the government's actual policies, which are kept hidden from the public because they violate widely held values and therefore would upset most citizens. For example, after the Boland Amendment was passed in 1984 forbidding U.S. government aid to the Nicaraguan Contras, the Reagan administration adopted an official policy of not providing government aid. Yet the Irangate revelations have exposed the administration's operative policy of providing massive covert government aid spearheaded by Ollie North and the National Security Council. Now, I just want to discuss some of the things that I've been reading online, especially on YouTube and Facebook, that is pushing for more division inside the movement. One of these is from Matt. He says, the GOP has been reformed back to the libertarian principles of its past. The old guard is freaking out. They are losing their neocon authoritarian power. The liberty-loving grassroots are gaining power again. I am not merging. I am fighting the rhinos. If I leave and the rest of the liberty movement leaves, the old guard wins. Matt, they won.
They won.
I mean, granted, we do have people in positions of power, but at best, they're double agents.
Yeah, they have the power to change the rules at will, and they did. They did that to us. They basically used their power to change the rules to the point where no grassroots movement could ever exist within the GOP ever again.
The rules were changed.
They won.
The delegates are bound.
But
we can't do nothing about it.
But guess what? That's all they won. They kept their party the way they want it. That doesn't mean that the liberty movement dies or goes away.
No.
It just means we have to come up with a new strategy in which to
implement our plans.
Make them irrelevant.
Joe said, and I think he was talking about Romney. Or no, he was talking about Johnson. He goes, I would vote for him. As for any Democrat or any Republican, I myself have unliked all pages except for Ron Paul and am in the process of cleaning out my friends who are Mitt Romney or Obama supporters.
What?
Why?
Don't do that.
Why? I mean, all that is getting together in groups of your fellow peers and patting each other on the back. Like, oh yeah, you're the part of the liberty movement.
You're a part of the liberty movement?
Yeah, you're a part of the liberty movement.
We will never talk to another Republican ever again.
Ever again. We just talk to ourselves and never win anyone else over into our party.
No.
It just doesn't make sense.
No.
If anything, you should be adding Obama and Romney supporters. I belong to so many pages on Facebook that are for Romney or for Obama. And all I do on there all day is politely and civilly disagree with everyone. Even though you're in an argument with someone who may or may not be an idiot, other people read it. People who don't usually comment on those things, they just see the picture, they see the post, they read through the comments, and then they see you being polite, they see you being civil, they see you using facts, links, real information, and then they see someone just going, "You're a Paultard, shut up, Paultard."
You have to realize people like Joe, who made this quote, people like you, people like Robert. I was influenced into the liberty movement by people like him. If he had just decided that I'm not going to talk to anybody that doesn't agree with me, I might have never heard the message of liberty from Ron Paul. You might have never heard the message of liberty from Ron Paul. So don't be so quick to just dismiss other people. The movement doesn't end after November 6th. People are going to vote who they're going to fight to the death. They're going to save the, we gotta get Obama out because Mitt is not as evil as Obama. It's the most ridiculous argument I've ever heard. But the movement goes on afterwards. You still have to wake people up to the message of liberty if you want the liberty movement to grow beyond November 6th.
A point I want to bring up is I wasn't always a libertarian. I wasn't always freedom-minded. As a matter of fact, I was all for government regulation about 10 years ago. I was a liberal Democrat. I'm an environmentalist, so I thought being a liberal Democrat made the most sense since I'm an environmentalist. And eventually people started talking to me, and even though they disagreed with me, they were able to pull me over to the libertarian movement. Matt here was a neocon.
Neocon Republican. Oh, yes. Go fight the wars. Bomb those suckers. What's this liberty thing you're speaking of? Don't we already have it? We're free. Patriot Act, what have you got to hide? Nothing. If you don't have anything to hide, you got nothing to worry about.
And I was able to pull him by politely and civilly discussing facts with him.
Education.
And then Manny here. This is my favorite. Gary Johnson is not Ron Paul. Well, that's probably because they have different names. If Gary Johnson wanted to help Ron Paul, he wouldn't be running in the first place. Gary is controlled opposition. He is a neocon who has managed to steal support from Ron Paul. He is not a true libertarian. He is for privatizing the prison industry, which would lead to legal slavery. He is also pro-foreign intervention in the case of probably dead and possibly innocent warlord Joseph Kony. Gary Johnson is as bad as Obama and is poison to the liberty movement. Okay. I mean, dude, if you believe that, great. Don't vote for him. Mm-hmm. But spreading division with people who are trying to do the best with the hand that we've been dealt at this point is not going to help the movement. I mean, who are you voting for then? You're writing in Ron Paul. Are you going to do that again in 4 years? Yeah. What about 4 years after that? You're going to write him in again because no one you agree with is 100% like Ron Paul?
No, that's impossible. I mean, you got to think about this logically. For people out there that are going to write in Ron Paul, I understand where you're coming from, the loyalty. Trust me, I do. But some people espouse the fact that, well, Gary Johnson doesn't believe it believes in pro-abortion. Well, folks, if you know anything about libertarianism and if you know anything about the liberty movement, it boils down to states' rights anyways. It doesn't matter what Ron Paul or Gary Johnson believe in with abortion to begin with, because they believe in state rights, giving the power of the state to decide. Secondly, some people don't like Gary Johnson's foreign policy. That's fine. You don't have to like his foreign policy. But if
it's exponentially better than what we got now.
And if you're looking for someone that is 100% Ron Paul, going back to Robert's point, if 4 years from now the next libertarian candidate isn't 100% like Ron Paul, you're going to just keep writing in Ron Paul over the next 20, 30 years? It's impossible. But Ron Paul was not
the movement.
He's not the movement. He was the message that brought the movement together. And without him, maybe the movement would have formed, maybe it would have taken longer. But it still has to go on past Ron Paul. And he is going to retire. Mm-hmm. He's not running in 2016. And if he does, great. I'll be right back in the streets pushing for him.
Absolutely. I'll register back to Republican like that.
Like that in a second, just so I can vote for him in the primaries. But let's keep things in perspective. Not everybody is going to agree with you 100%. If I was running and I decided to run a libertarian ticket, I know he would vote for me. Do we share 100% of the same views? No. But we have integrity, honesty. We have all those things that we hold dear in Ron Paul. Maybe not all of his policies, but what he stood for.
We need to stop working against each other. I am not advocating for you to compromise your beliefs. Please don't compromise your beliefs. What I am asking is to communicate and organize each other in our respective fronts. These people who are advocating that we all leave the Republican Party and getting upset when someone disagrees with them is just dumb. If you want to leave, then leave. If you want to stay, then stay. Those who are writing in Ron Paul, write him in. Voting for Johnson, vote for Johnson. You're not voting at all? Don't. Protest votes make just as much sense as writing in Ron Paul. Just stop pretending that everyone has to be just like you for them to be able to help the liberty movement. Isn't that why we get so angry at the Democrats and Republicans? That whole if you aren't for me, then you're against me mentality is getting very, very tiresome. If you are in the Republican Party and you were put there by the Ron Paul movement, stay there. You're going to be privy to so much information that we're not. If you are writing in Ron Paul, please realize that it only makes sense if you're doing it as a protest vote or in states where write-ins are allowed, which, by the way, I am all for protest votes. Because it also has the potential to show exactly how much voting power we would have had if Paul got the nominee. If you're voting for Johnson, please vote for Johnson. We can easily get the 5% of the vote for this election that we need to push the liberty movement forward. My point is that we can all be useful, no matter where we are in the movement. Please email me and I will help you get in contact with other people in your respective movements and organize and communicate with other individuals who are not in your respective movement and with different styles inside the activism of today. Now, I want to plug a couple people that are involved that you can definitely help out with, get in touch with. All right. You have go.com. It's GOOH.com. Don't worry, I'm going to be putting links down in the comment section. Also, there's copwatch.org. Then if you're a part of the Libertarian Party, make sure you get involved in your state. You can go to lp.org/states. Then you have voluntarious.com. You have oathkeepers.org, blacklistednews.com, freeagents.org, freetalklive.com, freekeen.org, fija.org, which is FIJA.org, freedomainradio.com, one of my favorites, afterpaul.com, thedailypaul.com, ronpaulforums.com, libertypulse.com, and libertycrier.com. All of these people are involved in different ways to help move the liberty movement forward. They're not all politics. They're not all cop watch type people. They're not all activists. But if we come together, understanding that we're different, that we may disagree on some things, then we'll be able to actually move forward cohesively and with a goal.
Oh, and before we go, one, I'd like to say hi to the Deadbeats, who will be doing our music. And I also like to say hi again to Paul Festival organizers. Folks, if you weren't able to go or you did go and you got a lot out of it, go to their website. They're $25,000 in the hole. The Florida Fairgrounds is being very nice with them and holding off and allowing them to come up with the funds late. But $25,000 in the hole for people who donated their time and their energy and their own money to put together something is a lot of money. And if you can donate $5, $10, $15, whatever the case is, that would be great. I know I'll be donating some more money here in a couple weeks. I got a lot out of it, and I felt like it was worth more than what I paid for it. So if you wouldn't mind, go to their website. Link will be at the bottom. If you could, just donate a few extra bucks to help them out. Thank you very much.
Live free now.
I gotta get myself out of this town, and I don't know where I'm going, where I'm gonna be found. This time's for sure. I gotta get up, get out, and get down. This I know. I'm sick of waiting lately, laying around.